All right, tell us about this. What happened with this worker and with the group that went to try to go demand the wages that were owed him for the 6 weeks that he had worked?
Yes, well, Oscar as well as other workers were hired by Full Service Construction to do demolition and construction work at several downtown sites. And Oscar came to the Worker Center after he was not paid his last 2 weeks of work. And upon investigating more about the case, we found out that not only was he not paid for those 2 weeks of work, but he was being paid at $7 an hour and was classified as an independent contractor, which meant that he was also not being paid overtime on any time that he worked over 40 hours a week. After trying to communicate with the employer, sending certified letters, as well as having a few phone calls, trying to resolve the wage dispute, Oscar decided to go to small claims court. Unfortunately, he again ran into an obstacle that his employer was not able to be served because he evaded all attempts by the court to send in papers or locate him. So at the end of all this process, after spending months trying to recover his wages, Oscar wanted to appeal to the employer's sense of morality, or at least to this pressure from the community to recover those wages, and so we decided to have a delegation of faith leaders and community members join him at the employer's home and business to demand that he pay those wages.
So it's about 30 people show up to demand these wages,
yes.
And the guy wasn't there at first, right?
Yeah, no, at first we were a little disappointed because we realized he wasn't home, but very, very shortly after we arrived, we saw a big black truck pull up. Oscar informed us that that in fact was the employer, and a small group approached him, and we confirmed that that was Mr. Fernando Chapa, who's the owner of Full Service Construction. After showing him the letter we had and copies of the pay stub where his company name is on there paying $7 an hour, he said that he did not know the worker, he did not know what we were talking about, and proceeded to drive off from the property.
So he drove off, but he didn't really leave, he was just up the street.
Yeah, we realized shortly thereafter that he had just driven off down the street and had parked and was basically waiting us out before he came back to his home. And at that point, we decided to send a small group to accompany Oscar to meet him there and again continue to try to talk to him about what was going on.
And all this is over $2,000 or so, something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
When they approached him again, that's when the verbal threat was made, is that right?
Correct. That's when Mr. Chapa said, I have a gun and you don't know what I can do to you. If you guys don't leave, this is not going to end well. At that point, he drove off from the delegation that was there and drove back into his home, and that's when he got out of his truck, pulled out the gun, and proceeded to threaten the people who had remained outside the sidewalk of his house.
Yeah, and going to all this trouble, they have to go to the guy's house, to have to confront him, if not twice, 3 times, and then have him pull a pistol is the allegation. All of this over $2,000. I mean, this is the kind of frustrating thing that happens to workers. I mean, maybe not to the level of a gun being pulled, but just having to go through all this trouble to be compensated when they could be spending their time working, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. As you said, maybe this specific example might be extreme, but at the same time, the fact that a lot of other workers like Oscar have to just jump through hoops and have to face so many obstacles just to recover the basic wages that they worked for already. This isn't a raise. We're not talking about benefits, wages. We're talking about basic work that they already performed that they just want to be paid.
Yeah, and with Oscar, I mean, he's out there working for 6 weeks, hard, hot, sweaty labor in downtown Houston doing demolition work, and this is a deal where he's not being paid, so he's having to borrow money from other people, think twice about whether or not he's going to eat dinner at night, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Oscar is the support of his family, so when he's not getting paid, that means that other people are also not getting food on the table, not having enough for medical emergencies or doing basic things that folks provide on, that all our families rely on when we work. And so yeah, that definitely has a lot more effects than just an Oscar.
Yeah. Jose, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.